Hey everybody, welcome back to Tiffany S Griffin. Today I am going to share with you an experience that one of my drivers had who drives for one of my carriers. And we're going to get into damage freight and the role that we played as dispatchers in trying to help resolve the damage freight issue, as well as how we could prevent the issue. So I am going to share my screen with you because being able to visually see what happened was extremely important in this situation. So I want to make sure, first thing first, that you understand that your dispatcher is asking for pictures from you of your loaded freight for a reason. Everything that they do should be to protect you. So you want to make sure that you always take documentation, which is, those pictures of your loaded freight prior to. Um, a lot of people just take like the main picture, so the picture that shows like the back of it, but you really want to take pictures of pretty much everything. So in this load, the first picture that we got was this picture. So this is the picture of the loaded freight. Um, we, wouldn't see anything that was an issue. Um, this is what ended up happening to the loaded freight. Driver called me and said that his door was bulging. So you can kind of see right here that the door is kind of pocketing out, and down here there's a slight issue. And he told me that he was not able to open the door. He said he heard something rolling around, so he waited until he got to his next gas stop. Number one, if you ever hear anything rolling around, you don't wait until your next gas stop. You stop at the very next stop possible so that you can see what's going on. Potentially, that one step of waiting until his next gas stop, even if it was 30 minutes, may have made the difference in if he was able to open his door or not. But of course, that's a what if hypothetical situation. We don't really know. Um, so once this part happened, we weren't able to open the door. The instructions that were given was, hey, pull over because we don't know what's going on and or if the shipper's going to want to receive it. Because at the point when you can't open the door, we don't know if there are any damages, anything that we can't see going on. So in that moment, he pulled over and we had him go to a hotel. Between the time of him going to the hotel, checking in, waiting on roadside to get there, the cart that was in there continued to roll and rolled through his door. So you can see, like, that would have been a super dangerous situation had he continued driving. He could have potentially had that cart roll out onto somebody else's car, and that would have been a safety hazard. So stopping was definitely the right thing to do in this situation. So we're going to go through a couple of pictures because you can see like the situation started to escalate fairly quickly. It wasn't a long time between there and there. So that night, because now this is, daytime, he stopped. That's what it looks like. Now we get to the nighttime and it's significantly worse, right? It's definitely through the door. It's coming out, and the only thing holding it is this wire here. Of course, I blurred out the tag so you could not see the tag number, but this wire here was pretty much the only thing stopping it from continuing to go through the door. So Roadside, of course, came out and they were able to fix it. Apparently, what they said the issue was and why this actually rolled was because there was something wrong with the brake. It ended up getting a little loose and it wasn't properly braked at the time. So when we are looking at this first loaded brake picture, it's kind of hard to tell, but the wheels weren't chucked and nothing was underneath the wheels to prevent them from rolling. Once he did get back into the truck so that he could go to get some wood to brace the wheels, he added blankets underneath to try to prevent it from rolling. And in addition, he strapped it with two straps instead of how in the first picture there was one strap. Um, well, there were actually two straps in the first picture too, but he strapped it additionally. So once he went and got the wheel chucks, which he pretty much had to make out of wood, um, he was able to secure it differently and nail it into the floor. You will have a decent amount of shippers request to nail into the floor when they're doing floor loading or bracing. I have two brokers specifically that request it consistently outside of, this one particular load. So let's get into these damages, right? So the main reason why you have cargo insurance is for damages to the freight that you carry. But especially within your first year, you definitely want to avoid any claims, and you want to avoid any cargo claims as well. So if you can work it out directly with the shipper, that's definitely something you want to do. So as you can see, going through the door, pretty much it looks like the most that was done was these paint scratches. That was all the damage that was done to it. We documented everything. We sent the pictures to the broker. So we wanted to make sure that the broker was aware that everything happened instead of us waiting for the receiver to say, oh no, it's damaged. We sent everything over to the broker first, so we are able to, control the narrative a bit. The broker and the shipper did hold us ultimately responsible because we were the ones that ended up driving on the vehicle onto the truck. So we were responsible for it. So there's a little box on your BOL that specifies whether the shipper loaded it or whether the driver loaded it. When the shipper loads it, they are held responsible for certain things, but ultimately as the driver, it's still your responsibility to make sure that your freight is properly secured, because when the freight is not properly secured, even though the shipper may pay for damages, had this vehicle ran through like the ran fell through the door completely, it would have been a totally different situation, and now somebody's life's involved. So the blame game starts. Nobody really wants to take responsibility when somebody's life is involved. So still definitely make sure that even if the shipper loads it, you make sure that that freight is secure and that it's not moving. If you see something, say something, speak up. In this situation, of course, the driver is the one that loaded it, but had it been the shipper that loaded it, you would have definitely wanted to say, hey, this is on wheels. We need something underneath it. Or, hey, this is on wheels. Like, are you sure it's not going to move? Make the shipper sign off on the BOL. We loaded it. It should be secure. We're securing it, and take liability off of you as the carrier. But you can always go back and, do some additional securing just to protect yourself, because even though it's written on the BOL, the headache of going through it when it is an incident, you don't want to go through. So definitely always make sure when there are wheels that you chuck your wheels, that you brace it to the floor, that you prevent it from being able to roll. Because as you can see, rolling can be a super dangerous situation. Like, you don't want this to be the thing that you see in the highway. Pull over if you hear something moving. Like, especially when you're dealing with newer drivers, make sure that you train your drivers. Even experienced drivers sometimes get comfortable because nothing has ever gone wrong. They're not used to having to deal with issues when they do go wrong. So they get comfortable. They're not checking for certain things. You always have to check for everything. No matter what is going on, you have to be aware of what's going on in your truck. So I hope this was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave comments in the comment section, ask me as many questions as you can think of. Dispatching is super fun, and it's rewarding because I'm able to help a lot of smaller carriers when they're first starting. Like I always tell y'all, you do not have to run under anybody else's authority. We dispatch under your authority even when you are newer. Don't let anybody tell you you need to, have a year or 6 months to be able to get moving. You can definitely move beforehand, but there's some tricks that we help all of our carriers with to help them get moving earlier rather than later. Yeah, so I hope this was helpful. Make sure this isn't you with a cart rolling through your door or damaged freight. I can't wait to see y'all on the next video.